I'm Pastor Dan, and this is M2M. Hey guys, it's actually been a couple of weeks since my last opportunity to get a video out for you. And for that, life interrupts, and we all need to be kind of ready for that. But often we struggle. And as a dad, I know that struggle, and I want to talk to that a little bit today. And this whole time of COVID, it's been a big deal. Let's take a little bit of time and talk about what it means to be a dad, a husband, and a man in a really challenging time of life. As we go along, we've been talking about Ephesians chapter 5 and the fruits of the Spirit. I want to start off just a little bit of a review as to why this even matters. As a man, we need to understand what it means to grow. We need to be continually moving ahead. We need to be connecting with the world around us, particularly the world that God has given us responsibility for. Not just our workplace, but also we need to be connected really, really well with our kids if we have them, particularly with our spouse if God has blessed us with a spouse. So as we face some of these challenges, and throw COVID in on top of that, how are you doing? It's tough. I understand that. I know what it feels like. Our whole list of things that we're looking at today is patience, kindness, and goodness. How are you doing in those things? I know as a dad, when we start running into stresses, we tend to react with more emotions, strong emotions. We tend to make jokes about things. We want to make light of it. So it's not such a big deal. But inside we really feel like, I don't know how I'm handling this. And our patience, wow, that one can go right out the window. I know for me, as a man, as a dad, and as a husband, I don't always have the best patience. I really have to focus on what does God want for me to be doing in this situation. So I hope today we can discuss some of this for you, and we'll look and see how does God really want us to do it, because this is part of becoming a man and being someone who respects and honors God and leads his family. So on this pathway that we're taking, what route are you going to go? Because pretty soon you come to a fork in the road. And that fork gives you a choice. Do I stay on the path I know? Do I face the challenge that's coming up ahead? Those are some of the decisions we make as we learn what it means to be a man. So as we continue on in this talk about what it means to be a man, I'm really reminded of the actual verses we're talking about. And the passage we're talking about from Ephesians chapter 5 really shows us that we need more. That on our own strength, we're going to fall, we're going to hurt people, we're going to get hurt ourselves. But when we follow these things, when these fruits of the Holy Spirit in us come out of us, then the world around us is benefited, and then we are then taught and benefited, and we just spend so much more time in a positive space. The first thing we're going to talk about today particularly is patience. I know for a fact that as a dad, my patience runs out. When you have had that request for more energy to come out of you, usually mental energy, not even necessarily physical energy, but that it frazzles you sometimes, and you just you snap. You're short with your words, and we don't speak well to those we love the most, because we often take them for granted the most. And I look to the question, So what do I do about that? How can I get over this? How can I deal with this? Well, I look to whose image am I made in? I'm made in the image of God. And God is the ultimate in patience. Right at the very beginning of the whole story, Adam and Eve, they wrecked things. They broke the relationship. They broke the relationship with each other as well as the world. And yet God was patient. He already had his plan in place. Millennia later, we see that come to fruition. We see that through the children of Israel. We see that through that kingdom being established. We see that through God patiently waiting for the people and the circumstances to come about in the correct way that he knew was coming, and that Jesus was born, and that relationship was fixed. How patient is that? 2,000 years later, after Jesus' death, burial, resurrection, and ascension back to heaven, God is still working on us. And he sent his counselor, the Holy Spirit, to us so that we can have these fruits. Now, you may be asking, Dan, so what do these fruits matter? Why do I need to worry about this? I'm getting through life okay. I gotta tell you, you're just getting through okay at best. But when you live out the fruits of the Spirit because of your trust and your faith in God, when you really submit to him every single day, every single moment, those fruits, they bring so much more life to what you can experience, that you're not just okay, but that you're living the best life. And I think that's where we need to depend on God. The second thing that we're looking at is not just patience, but it's kindness and goodness. I'm not going to wrap them both together, but they are very similar. They are similar things. Kindness is how we react to others around us. Even when we're stressed, even when we're pushed to our limits, kindness comes out. Are we willing to serve them? Are we willing to love them, even when it's tough? Goodness, on the other hand, is more of a matter of character. Kindness is our response to others, but goodness is what's coming from within, who we really are. And you'll see that in a few different ways as we explore these things. As we explore what this means for being a man of God and following God. Goodness is our character in how we follow through on what God has given us. There's been two instances where I see God use the word good specifically. One of his creation, back in Genesis, we see that where God says it is good. And then he says of man and woman, he says it is very good. That's very high praise from God. But then I also see that fast forward into Acts, in the New Testament, in chapter 11, and talking about a particular servant of God, a man who was after God's heart. His name was Barnabas. And God said he was a good man. Wow. How do you want to be remembered? I want God to say, I'm a good man. And that's something that Barnabas lived out. And he followed and chased after what God was. He was on a mission. He had a positive direction to go in, and he went for it, even when it was tough and when it was hard. So when we face those things today, coming up this week, you're going to be faced with challenges. You're going to be faced with times where your patience is pushed to the limit. You know, our restrictions for this whole COVID thing might change, or maybe they stay the same. Where are we going to be at? Are we growing in the fruits of the Spirit? We're going to continue on this message in the coming days, and you'll see where God really brings this out in us, so that we're able to continue on with where he wants us to be. I'm Dan. I'm all in, and this has been M2M.